Well, it's wonderful to be here with you all, and I'm joined by Scott, and thank you both for welcoming us. We're talking about a really important topic today, which is career development, because we know it is one of the key reasons, or lack thereof, that many people leave organisations. And we also know that it's probably one of the hardest things for you to operationalise within your HR teams as well. And most organisations, we know that they do need clear competency frameworks and career pathways. And a model that allows you to support that within your organisation. But typically, it takes months and months of manual work, workshops and process to be able to get an aligned position across your organisation. Fortunately, we're living in an AI era now, so that has fundamentally changed, and we've invested heavily in our platform to be able to automate a bunch of that process and get you started a lot quicker. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have Scott Laing join us. He is an L&D advisor at one of our customers, CHU, and they are a strata and underwriting provider for insurance, for apartments and also commercial properties. They have around 300 employees and they've been a customer of ours since midway through last year. So I'm really thrilled to have Scott join us. So Scott, I might kick off and ask you an open question. Maybe you can just share with the audience today a little bit about CHU and give us some perspective on what your learning and development remit looks like in your organisation.
Yeah, no worries. Hello everyone. So CHU, well, it's about 300 of us all around Australia, and we deal in what might be considered sometimes a fairly dry type of work, underwriting for commercial buildings as well as residential strata buildings. And essentially what I came into this business to do when they decided they'd like an L&D person about 2.5 years ago was that they needed some way to measure what it is that they want their people to actually be doing and how they'd like them to actually be growing. So that's kind of the impetus for why I was brought on board, and it's been a bit of a journey.
So in the last 4 or 5 months before the career development capability in the ELMO platform came along, can you just give us a sense of what the processes that you've gone through, how you've gone about it manually, and kind of what outcomes that was driving?
Yeah, so we essentially started the design and development of a capability framework in our organisation. We called it a skills matrix. Essentially, we had to go to all of the different parts of our organisation and ask the leaders within, what is it that you want us to be able to measure your people doing? Part of the difficulty there, just to begin with, was they couldn't even see what it would look like. So getting their buy-in was something difficult at the outset as well. So over about 12 to 18 months of stopping and starting back and forth across different parts of our business with people who have varied interest in stepping away from their day-to-day role to build something as what they perceive to be for the people team, was a bit of a journey for sure. There were a few false starts, a lot of back and forth. I'm sure anybody who works in L&D knows that it can be hard to get people away from their role just to do training, let alone to help build something like a capability framework.
Yeah, and I think, having spoken to many customers, I think your experience would be echoed by many people in the room here today. So the approach that you were taking, do you think it was sustainable? Or have you finished the plan, had the tools not become available?
Well, we did wrap out a kind of a version that now lives, unsurprisingly, in a combination of Excel spreadsheets, as well as assessing capability through people rating themselves through Microsoft Forms. So that's been hard to maintain, hard to keep people engaged with, hard to drive leaders back to that as a source of measuring people's capability, and therefore helping them understand what it is that we need to do to plug any gaps that they're seeing. So ultimately, no, not a sustainable solution for us at that point. But yeah, luckily late last year we were invited to pilot part of ELMO's offering to us as a customer, and it's really been transformative in the way that we look at the way that we build capability frameworks at CHU.
That's great. And I mean, I think we're all grappling with a new era of skill development that's required in most organisations, particularly as it relates to using AI tools and how that applies in various roles and functions. So for you at CHU right now, why is upskilling and cross-skilling such an important priority for you?
There's a couple of reasons. I would say the first reason is, of course, that we need to be cognizant of what the future skills of work look like. And we'd like to weave that into the way that we define the capabilities of the roles that we have at CHU. So looking forward, additionally, we want to help individuals, particularly in areas of the business like claims, understand that there is growth and opportunity within the organisation that perhaps isn't straight up the leadership route. We know that there are people who would like to remain technical experts, but finding ways that they can transfer those skills across, perhaps into our CHU Assess business, people like loss adjusters, or into underwriting, which is a little more complex. That's kind of what we're looking for, that kind of lateral transfer.
And just recently we published our HR industry benchmark report, which takes on board feedback from over 1,200 HR professionals around Australia and New Zealand. And the number one challenge that we heard was a lack of skills in this space and the importance of investment in organisational change and capabilities as well. And what we did hear was that over half of our respondents are now planning on increasing budgets in L&D, which is exciting to hear. Now, CHU had only been on and a customer of ours for about 4 months at the time when you became a member of our pilot. What was your initial reaction when you saw the power of AI-generated skills and capability frameworks when you saw it for the first time?
Yeah, wow, this thing just did my job very quickly for me. Not that that's a problem, right? It was so beneficial for me to be able to see at least a draft of a capability framework for all the different job types that we have in our organisation as a starting place to show the leaders, hey, this is what we're looking for. Please help us round it out. Yeah, really transformative, showed us so much diversity in the roles as well as skills that we could already identify across job types.
And what surprised you most about the output of what you saw, and then if you want to take your job, I assure you, how closely did the work that you've done manually match to the outputs of the AI?
Yeah, it really, thankfully, thank God for us, it validated what it was that we had done. It lined up very similarly to the way that we had put together the skills matrix prior to having had a crack at the pilot. And that really gave us some confidence. But then there was also better consistency across the matrices as well. So we were able to see the way that each of those capabilities were transferable across to other parts of the business rather than just in the underwriting silo or in the claims silo.
And I think we're strong advocates of a human always being in the loop for AI outputs. And particularly we've all had those experiences where AI can hallucinate and perhaps give you the wrong result. But what were some of the things that the AI maybe didn't quite get right?
Yeah, there was one thing, so essentially what it does is it can create a personalised learning plan for an individual after they've had their capability measured. I was looking at an example of one for a person in our claims business, and I was reading through and I'm like, this sounds like this person might be managing a health insurance claim, not the claim on a damage in a strata building. So there's definitely, you know, AI can only be as good as the data that you're allowing it to pull from at the outset. So having those job descriptions tidy and detailed as well would really benefit us in being able to ensure that those personalised learning plans are indeed personalised to the work that the person has to do.
Yeah, and who would have thought that good old position descriptions form the foundations of AI models as well? But it'd be good to get your perspective. I mean, obviously this isn't something that's set and forget. Mm-hmm. So how do you think about the inputs, things like position descriptions and why they're so important in feeding an AI model of this nature?
Yeah, so there's a position descriptions, but as well, really reinforcing that with the leaders, what it is that they expect their people to be able to do when they hire them. So we can then inform that model a bit better. Yeah, that was probably the biggest takeaway for us. Clean data gives better results.
Couldn't agree more. And then you mentioned your managers. How did they respond when they saw the outputs of the work that you produced?
They were really impressed. They were pretty stoked that they were able to see relevant skills for their people in their department being articulated so clearly across the 4 different levels that we got it to identify. So it wasn't so much a rework either. We were already speaking in language with our leaders about the 4 different levels of capability and what the skills might broadly be, but they were able to really see how quickly we'd be able to kind of do diagnostic capability testing with their people.
That's amazing. So you've done a lot of heavy lifting to get to this point. You've got managers involved. Now you're at the point of rollout. Change management's not easy, but how are you approaching rollout of this across CHU?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we had done this already with our 2 largest parts of our business being claims and underwriting. We don't really want to muddle up what it is that we just did with them and just launched with them, so we're moving with a smaller part of our organisation, our building assessors, which I think is a good way to move forward. We're looking at about 12 individuals, which is a nice tight control group. I've already had some preliminary conversations with the leaders, shown them an example of how it generated the skills. So we're going to work through them first, try and create a success story with those individuals to then relaunch what we call the skills matrix with our heavier hitters and the bigger parts of our business.
So why is it that you started small rather than going to the bigger teams, and then where do you see this leading to as part of your broader people strategy?
Yeah, we wanted to start small because we didn't want to confuse things. There's a kind of a change management piece. We don't want to put people back through this process once again so quickly. Hey, we just did all this in forms and teams. Why are we now over here? We're going to create that success story, and then particularly with building assessors, we expect that there will be lots of capability bleed over between claims and building assessors, and we would love to create that as a pathway for growth, particularly for our claims people. So once we're done with our building assessors, we're moving on to those bigger, heavy hitters in our business, showing them the value of it, and hopefully starting to see some lateral movement in some talented claims staff. Amazing.
If there's one thing that you can solve in the next 12 months, what would that be? And if you had one piece of advice to everyone here today, what would that be?
One thing I would love to solve in the next 12 months is a clear pathway for claims staff into other parts of our business. I don't know if anyone else here works in an organisation where you have people in roles that they feel that they kind of churn and burn a little bit. And you want to hang on to them, but we want them to perhaps put their value into a different part of our company. So I would love to have that really clear, really well defined and visible for those individuals. I'm so sorry, what was the second part of that?
If this, what did I say? What if there was one piece of advice you could give to everyone in the room?
Depending on where you are, just start. I would say clean up your data if you are relying on data, or if you're thinking about using some sort of AI tool as well. You want it to have good data to work from, a clean place to start. Having that identified, defined and clear will only help you get to kind of being able to use this tool faster, which is already blazingly fast.
That's amazing. So thank you to Scott. This is a piece of technology that we now have within our platform. So if you want to come and see it, come and talk to me or one of our teams on our stand. But this is certainly not about replacing the amazing work that all of you do. But given that we're now in 2026 and we've got some pretty powerful AI tools, it is ultimately here to help get you started and moving a lot quicker than you otherwise would have been able to. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Greta, and I think we might have time for a couple of questions.
We do indeed, but let's just give Joseph and Scott a big thank you. And I reckon I can hear HR people around the country going, hallelujah. Who's got some questions for Joseph and Scott? Come on, don't be shy.
We don't bite, we promise.
Well, I'm going to start one off, and then I expect you guys to follow through. Come on, innovation stage, we've got this. How do you balance, and I don't know whether it's sort of Joseph or Scott that's best to kind of answer this, the skills, the capabilities and the skills required are kind of moving so fast right now. How do you balance addressing the needs of today, particularly with the line managers, but also trying to anticipate the change that's coming thanks to AI and many other things?
Yeah, so we have already started to consider this in the way that we have designed it for our building assessors. We're looking at things like the World Economic Forum. We're thinking about the skills of tomorrow, what people need to be able to do. And not only does the tool spit out what it thinks people do in the job right now, but you can, of course, then bring in some of those external capabilities that we're expecting people to need in the future to kind of define those as almost aspirational within people's roles as well. So we're trying to weave it in, I guess, like a Trojan horse to help people bring their capability up for those skills.
Fantastic. Questions from the floor? Yes, table 3. Thank you. We'll just wait for the microphone. It's on its way very close by. Brilliant.
So the system runs from your PDs, but how do you capture the skills and qualifications people have already got and then align them?
So you're right, it's position-led the way that the AI is designed. With regard to saying like qualifications that people may already have or training that they've already done as well, it does create personalised learning plans for each individual. So I believe that it does read what it is that the person has already done so as to not duplicate efforts down the track.
So it is also linked. We have a learning solution within the ELMO platform. It is then linked to content and courses either that the employee has completed or those that may help develop them based on the skill that has been defined for that role. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking that if you've got somebody in claims that, for instance, you've just taken on and we've got the same situation, and they've previously done a degree in building underwriting or whatever, where's it sort of captured along the line so that they, you can easily identify that person as a transferable?
Yeah, I believe that they probably enter that into the external training component within the learning module in ELMO.
Okay.
So all of those sorts of things are captured as well.
Cool.
Thank you. Other questions? Come on. I've got one in the meantime for you, Joseph.
Yes.
Like a classic issue with software, it can be incredibly valuable, but often customers don't use it to its fullest potential. How much of an issue do you think that is, and what do you do to try and make sure ELMO customers really kind of leverage the full benefits?
Yeah, so we have a pretty experienced and capable team. So for any new customers that are looking to work with us, we have a team called Solutions Consultants. So effectively what they will do is work with you and understand your requirements. They'll do a really thorough discovery about your organisations, the gaps that you've got, and then pull together a solution that's going to meet your requirements. Then if you're an existing customer, like Scott and the team, we also have a group called Customer Success Managers as well, and our account management team. So they proactively, we have, given that we're working with technology, our solutions are tagged up so we can very clearly see proactively when certain features and functionality are being used or not within our platform. And then we can proactively engage with you through our customer success team, which then may require additional training or support. And particularly when we release new features like this, we want to make sure that we're communicating the value of it, how you can get up and running, and then specifically leverage some of our customers that have gone through a pilot program to share their experiences as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Final question from the floor. Who's going to break the silence first? All right, well, let's give Joseph and Scott a very big thank you.
Thank you.